Hopefully that was in slow motion.
I wasn't in slow motion as much. Well, I wanted to join in and I was just bullied out of it.
Oh, would it be great if I just cut you and you're at normal speed? I was in the slow motion bit. Hello and welcome to Sam's on
He never
Wrestling.
tells me what he's going to do at all.
This is our power ranking series, the series where we take a wrestler, male, female, or tag, and give them a score out of 10 in 10 different wrestling categories, giving them an overall score out of 100. We then combine the scores together to give them an overall score out of 200 and see where they land on our leaderboard. Today we're looking at a person we have ranked before in a tag team. They're one of the first people who's actually getting to be on both boards. We haven't had that yet, so we're looking at the slow motion man himself, the shaman of sexy. It is John Nitro. No, Johnny Impact. No, Johnny No, John Morrison. Stop changing your name just because of where you are. It's a great gimmick. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. He actually got better. The older he got, but his in-ring work got considerably worse when he started to understood how to do the stuff.
I know.
It's really bizarre. So we're looking at John Morrison. So, but before we get into our Johnny Morrison, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Really help us out. And let's go find out where we're going to put John Morrison on our mid-card leaderboard. We start with their wrestling ability. Sam, what do you think of Joe Mo's wrestling ability?
I flirted with an 8, but I ended up with a 7.
I flirted with a 5. And
Did you?
I think John Morrison is a really crap worker.
No, Sam, I will not have this.
So, I'll talk to you about it first of all. I've given him a 6, right? Because he is the epitome of all style, no substance.
Well, yeah, but no, we'll get to that on storytelling, won't we?
No.
But he can do some cool moves.
No, I'm going to get this on it. He has 4 cool moves, and then you're like, great. Can he do a headlock? No.
He could do a Shining Wizard. He could do, what's that C4 thing? That was pretty cool.
Everyone can do that. Everyone does that.
Physically can't. What, the Big Show does it? I don't think so.
Do you know what? I reckon he could.
In WCW, I reckon he could.
Yeah, but the problem is, I've always thought that Morrison was a poor worker. Like, every time he was in his tag team with Eminem, which hilarious we haven't done yet, but we did Miz and Morrison. Please check it out. No one watched that video for some reason. Go check out how we thought about Miz and Morrison. It was a lovely video. But I've always just thought, oh, that's a cool move, and then he does nothing interesting because he can't do it. So I always felt like when he was a heel, he couldn't do his interesting move. They just had to tag out and put Mercury in half the time. When he was against Jeff, he just couldn't cultivate a correct match because they were his best matches as a single up to that point. And it was like, these aren't great. His matches with Punk are awful when he was in ECW.
He had one really good one.
Yeah, after 4 duds.
No, I know.
After 4 of the... This is one thing, is I never... And even when he got older, and we are talking about his best, I never looked and went, yeah. In-ring talent, he's great. It is just can this person do a flashy move? There's a reason WWE never really pushed him. And there's a reason other places didn't really push him. Like, TNA, he got to the World Championship, and then it was kind of like, yeah, but we'll go with Alberto Del Rio instead. Like, that says a lot. And to me, it's because his in-ring it just isn't actually good. It's just a couple of flashy moves and then nothing.
I think he's really good, and I think he works much better as a face.
Has to be a babyface.
Because...
But he's a heel character.
No, agreed. So we'll get to that.
And it's a mess.
But I think he's actually very much quite good at selling. I like his selling. And I think
selling injury or selling a move? They are two different things, and I argue with people a lot. They go, Dolph Ziggler, what a great seller. I'm like, yeah, what's he do after he's done the crazy flip out?
No, good. I think he's actually good at both. I think he's good at selling like an injury, like selling a body part.
Doesn't selling come a little bit more to storytelling though?
No, well, we get to storytelling.
I don't rate his in-ring work, say it that way. I think I do. Even his cool moves are a little bit like, you're just kind of doing breakdancing.
I like it. I like his moves.
It never worked for me.
Don't listen to him.
Nah, it didn't work for me. 6. We move on to their storytelling. They're selling about stories in the ring and to sell and stuff like that, Sam.
I went with 7.
I went with 6 because it's the exact same as it in ring work. He can't tell a story.
I think he can. I think sometimes he needs a good dance partner to do it with.
Well, he's the example of needs to be with someone better than him.
Yeah, I can kind of get that.
And that makes a massive difference here. If he can't work with someone of equal footing or lower, for the majority of his career, I think it's a huge one. There's a reason he kept getting shoved into tag teams.
Yeah, no.
He's a perfect example of,
sense.
you're really entertaining, but, tag team.
I'm not saying he's the best thing since sliced bread. I just think he's a bit better than you think he is. I think he's decent at selling as a babyface and looking in peril. I think he's decent.
I just always never cared. Do you know what he is? He's the epitome of SmackDown 2012.
Oh,
well,
that kind of era.
You know what I mean? I know he left, I think, at the end of 2011, but you know what I mean? You just look at it, you're just going, I don't care. Like, you come out, you got a mid-entrance, you can't cut a promo, and then you do your 10-minute match with Kofi Kingston, where you do the same Cesaro, and you do the same match like you did a week ago, and a week before that, and a week before. That's the problem. I don't think How many different Morrison matches have there been? At WWE at the very least.
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's one in particular that I really enjoyed with Rey Mysterio in 2009.
But again, you took it at an upper echelon.
No, I'm not saying.
And also the perfect person to be, because he can do all flashy moves.
No,
I'm
just saying.
I do actually remember the match you're on about. But you see what I mean? Where you happen to go. So you're the one in-ring work 7 and storyline 7, but you're there going, every match is the same.
No, I could understand that.
And when you talk about Carmelo 2 weeks ago, you said
one note.
One note. Yeah. I think in ring he is the epitome of one note.
Yeah, so see, Sam, I said that Carmelo's note was still a decent note, but it was one note. I like John Morrison's note a bit more, but it is a one note. So
Let me just note that I think he's fine.
Yeah, I think he's decent.
To be fair, the funny thing, we're arguing. You've given him a 7, I've given him a 6.
Yeah,
to be honest, shows you what that 1 point does. It matters
a lot.
We move on to their promo skills, their ability to talk and cut a promo.
Can't wait for this score from you. I've gone 5. I went
4.
I think he's decent, and again, I think he got better.
He can't call it decent if you give him a 5. You think he's average?
No, but I just...
He definitely got better. The problem is, I know we do it at the best, but we said one of our rules was we try and do it at their best, but we can't ignore if it's a majority. So, for example, you looked at Roman Reigns, let's say, in-ring, or, you'd go way better like now, but Jesus Christ, look at the most of the year. Save for Cena, I suppose when we do Cena, it'd be a very similar thing. I think Morrison learned how to talk about 2020. So, because he got he left in 20, you'll know better than me.
2011.
2011 was just after Survivor Series, sort of neck of the woods, wasn't it?
I think it was a bit just after Mania 27, but I could always be wrong.
Let's just say that sort of neck of the woods, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's 2011 sort of reason. He then went off, and I know he did acting courses and stuff, and he came back and he was way better, but they never actually just gave him a chance, even though he technically had a Universal title shot that we try not to remember. So not really talk about that. I just don't think he can cut a promo.
I think
really
he
can't.
can.
I don't even think he's average. I think he's below average. That's why I've gone 4. I literally went, I don't even think you can do the bog standard average. They literally realised that they couldn't get him over via talking when they were trying to push him, and they just made him run through the corridors.
Yeah, parkour. I love the parkour stuff.
I love the parkour stuff because he wasn't talking.
Yeah.
I'd say it this way. How often, outside of ECW, was he given a microphone and told to go talk in the ring?
Never. I don't remember,
ECW did it.
Well, then RVD's a bit similar.
Yeah. Oh, RVD I put in the same sort of bracket, actually. To be fair, I think actually it's not true. If you go watch
RVD can do a decent promo.
If you go watch,
that's my point. He was a decent promo, yet wasn't given the time. So
if you watch RVD's ECW promos,
agreed.
Brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And then he gets to WWE, it's cool. Whatever. Yeah. No, Morrison for me is just not a good promo.
I'm not going to try and argue that.
It's not good. It's just depending. Are you going average or below average? I think he's even. I don't think he's average. I really don't.
I'm going on his latest stuff to give him that 5.
I think I could understand that. We move on to their look, Sam.
I've gone 9.
I've gone 8 because most of his look was cultivated via the pharmacy scandal.
Was it?
Oh, he was in that. Oh, yeah, he was in the long list of the pharmacy. Look at Morrison.
Oh, you're on about. Oh, sorry, you're on about his physique. I'm going his attire.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to talk about his physique first of all, because when you look at his physique from 2006, it's disgusting. It's like Jesus Christ, and there's comes after. It's very edge. You're like, you're not quite.
He was always shredded though.
But it wasn't. But if you look at 2006, he's been to the shops. He's been to the pharmacy shop.
Yeah.
But I liked the glasses with his cross on it.
Yeah.
I love the long hair. I love the jacket, the fur thing.
Even the trousers.
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
thought the trousers were a little bit of an offshoot from Eminem, but I think he took it and kind of made it a little bit more his own. I always thought he actually had he looks like someone who could main event.
Yeah.
I looked at him and went, young Shawn Michaels. I always just thought that. He just didn't have the other tools. And there's a reason, like, he's got a perfect look. The women were going to love him because they did. And, you know, he could do some flashy moves. He just couldn't put the pieces together to be that main event, or even, let's be honest, an upper mid-carder. It wasn't even that, really.
There was a time, but I think he was more upper mid-card because the place was so desolate.
But I wouldn't even say he was upper mid-card, because, like, he wasn't...
2009, Sam.
He wasn't winning massive Intercontinental or United States Championships, though. Do you see what I mean?
I think he got 1 or 2 IC runs.
Yeah, but I think those were not 2006. More than
No, he did have 1 in 2000.
But do you know what I mean? He's just like, but that look, his main event look. And the only reason I never went 9 or 10 is, one, when we do Ultimate Warrior, I'm still going to give him 10. Yeah. But you know what? It's going to be a 10 with a sad heart. Yeah. But with Morrison, I always just felt like there could you have added something else to the look. And I don't know what it was to just make him seem more legitimate.
Do you get what I mean? And well, he's a bit of the RVD as well in terms of he didn't adapt. He didn't change.
And that's actually one of the reasons, you actually make a great point. It's one of the reasons I never actually ranked him low, because it was like, you looked the same. Even when he came back, you looked the same. He never changed. He never changed. Yeah. We move on to the entrance. Sam, entrance.
I was very conflicted. I've gone 7.
I've also gone 7.
I don't like his theme.
I don't.
It's one of the, again...
Well, it's linked with the word Morrison, isn't it?
Yes, well, I talked about this with Carmella, and I think the same applies. It doesn't pass the Spotify test at all. I don't, but what he physically does in his entrance is really cool. The
slow motion is genius. Either going, I can't believe you've not done this for somebody else. Because it was hot, that was the idea, is, to look all glossy. And
worked on me.
I loved it. Problem is, what does he do after he's done the slow motion bit?
Struts.
He does a bit of a strut. There's not a lot going on. I don't like the song either.
No.
I don't like the song. The song really works in the slow-mo bit, but I don't like that it's this psychedelic 60s, 70s Morrison's thing. It's a weird one. I like his entrance. It's not an upper echelon, but it's good. So 7, I think, is a very correct number.
Give it a better theme. And we're cooking, and a bit more after the slow-mo.
Do the beginning bit and slow-mo, and then really kick into something else.
Well, could you have done the red carpet like they did with Eminem? Yeah, bring a bit of that in. That's great.
When we do Eminem's entrance, that's got to be close to a 10, because that's a brilliant entrance. And do you know what? I like that song better for him, even though it's arguably more annoying.
Yeah.
We move on to their work as a heel, a bad baddie guy. Sam.
You're not going to like this. I've gone 7.
I've also gone 7.
Oh, you will like it.
I was conflicted 6 or 7. And I was there going, how do I feel about it? Because a lot of his heel work is offshoots from The Miz and from Eminem. But his work with Melina, when they were allowed to work, was actually very good as a heel. I thought Melina gave him a lot of heel heat. I thought being all sexy and all this sort of stuff to kind of look better than you. And the reason I was saying 6 is because he couldn't cut that promo. But he could look better than you. And I was like, so I'm a bit like, I didn't know where to go. Where are you thinking?
Well, the character's a natural heel.
Yes.
It just is a heel character.
So that gives it points, straight away.
It does 100% give it points.
If you could come up with a gimmick or a style or a look that automatically shows you who you are, which is why babyface might take a bit of a hit, that works really well.
Yes.
If you could just go out.
If you can be quite dislikable without saying a word,
which is what he had to do.
No, exactly, but good points. I just think it falls down for everything we've talked about, but I couldn't give it a 6. It's definitely a 7 for me.
Okay, I'm still going with 7, but I tell you what, it's a 7 with a little star next to it, a little asterisk.
Is it like a 6.6? You've had to round it up.
Babyface, we move on to their work as a face. Sam?
You won't like it.
I really aren't.
Because I think you've had a glance.
Yeah, I have.
It's 8.
That's just wrong.
Okay.
You think he's an upper echelon babyface?
Okay. Would I be able to make
because it's wrong. Okay. But go for it.
As a child, when I was about 8 or 9 or 10, I really, really enjoyed John Morrison. I think his feud with The Miz, not when he turned heel and then when they split up. I know, Sam, but just please hear me out.
You think he's a better face than a heel?
Yeah, genuinely, because his wrestling style completely suits
I agree.
babyface.
I agree with that. That doesn't suddenly make him a better babyface than heel.
If you'd allow me to explain some. So I think the way he was booked was really good. He was presented very well. I liked the parkour stuff.
That was cool.
And he was always one of those babyfaces. He was like one of those upper mid-card babyfaces that never quite gets that break. He had a few chances. He had some chambers. He had that triple threat cage match with Miz and Cena that he was really good in, because he would do some really good high spots.
The problem is, I was going to say your name. The problem is you're naming gimmicks.
No, agreed. But how did Jeff Hardy get over? It wasn't through talking. It was through moments of brilliance, like his, sometimes off the ladder. And obviously Jeff was better than Morrison.
The funny thing is, what you've just explained is how Jeff got over, but it's not how Jeff became a main eventer. Jeff became a main eventer because he learned to wrestle.
Well, I would give Jeff a higher score as a babyface.
I would,
but I would say the same
less
principle applies. I'm thinking of his. Remember that chamber spot where?
Love it.
Amazing, incredible.
Landed on Sheamus.
Yeah, exactly, brilliant. Then the Rumble spot. He was the original Rumble. He was the original Kofi. He did that, and then there was another thing that he got choke slammed onto the chamber floor as well.
The thing about the chamber spot, he jumped off from Sheamus. The problem with that is that's such a good spot, and he was the first one to do it. But then people like. The guys from I can't remember who climbed it. It's Kalisto. And proved how to actually do it. You're like, oh, Morrison's was rubbish.
No, but the first time's always the other one I was thinking of was the Starship Pain off the cage and that triple threat.
Yeah.
He did stuff like that as a kid, which is the target audience at that time was me as a 10, 11-year-old, really captured your imagination, really got you to root for him. So even though, yes, he didn't cut great promos, I think he was putting some good feuds that really made you root for him. And he held his own in those feuds and created really good spots.
Can I make just one one argument? Because I've got a completely different one. I'm talking about you. Do you really believe, because we agreed that 8, 9 and 10 is upper echelon, and we're talking in the greatest, and you're ranking the greatest. Do you really think he's one of the greatest baby faces of all time?
Well, no, I don't think 8's one of the greatest. I think upper echelon and one of the greatest is a very different.
We really need to 10 is the greatest, 9 is so good, and 8 is really good. Do you really believe he's really good, that he can rival some of the greatest
for the time
faces?
For the run that he went on? I'm not saying he'd rival some of the greatest, because otherwise I'd have him at 10 or 9. He's not that. He's that step below where he's really good. But I'm not saying he's one of the greatest or using superlative.
I would argue that someone like Scotty 2 Hotty is a better babyface than John Morrison.
Well, maybe if I had watched Scotty 2 Hotty at the time, I'd agree with you. I'm not trying to roast Scotty 2 Hotty.
I've given him 5 because, and I'm going to make this clear, the reason he's got such a high score is because his in-ring work suddenly makes sense. But his character is a heel, and he still kept doing this heel stuff. The only thing he added was parkour, which was cool. I liked that. Couldn't cut a babyface promo at all, so much so that every time he tried to be a babyface, they were like, could you go back to being a heel now? They gave him a babyface for about, what, a year and a half?
Okay, but there's a reason why we
Actually, let's play the game. How often was he a babyface? Let's play that.
So, he was a babyface.
When did he turn?
It was the Miz and Morrison. It was 2009 after Mania 25. They'd lost the titles to Primo and Carlito to unify them. That brand at that draft, they got separated. As they found out they were separated, Miz was like, right, screw you, turned on him. And then from there on in, Morrison was a babyface on SmackDown. Then he had that run where he was actually really quite over. Had the match with Mysterio, had the IC title run, had the feud with Drew.
And then he left end of 2011.
Yeah, but so we had that.
So we're
about
talking
2 years.
2 years of babyface.
2.5 maybe as a babyface, which is my favourite stuff. I really enjoyed him in that.
I'm sticking with 5 because 2 years worth of doing Starship Pain and sometimes not even being on the show because they couldn't trust him to cut a promo or to have a different character. He is not a better babyface than he is a heel. I cannot believe it. But this is why we have 2 different people to have a fair adjudication. And we just need to remember that he is wrong. Gimmick and personality.
Well, here's the thing. Gimmick and personality in this case are 2 quite different things, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he have a gimmick?
Yes.
Does he have a personality? No. He has no personality.
Yeah. This wrestler might be the best case to actually split these. Usually it is the same thing.
We put it out there because some people never had a gimmick. Because it's unfair. Like Kevin Owens, he has a moniker. Is it a gimmick? I think that's more of a moniker than a gimmick. I think he is him. But personality, loads of personality. Or some people have a gimmick but have no personality. And you're like, I don't know how you do. So for Morrison, he has 0 personality and a gimmick, but I wouldn't exactly say it's a strong gimmick.
What have you gone with, Sam?
5.
I went 7.
Which is wrong again.
Yeah, I can feel your anger.
But you know that he doesn't have the best gimmick.
I'd liked his gimmick, so he went from, and again, I'm not saying this should count heavily, but he had a great heel gimmick with The Miz. Then he
Tag,
went off
don't
from
count.
that. No. Then he went off from that and had a similar kind of style, but his babyface, which I liked. I liked the entire presentation. The parkour was really fun.
It felt like they did the run through the thing once to go, look, he does parkour, and then never actually advanced on it. Same, they did a similar thing with Justin Gable. Which is
What I'll say is he did some parkour stuff in matches. So
No, but I mean they didn't like really. They could have really. They should have given him the Jeff Hardy treatment, and they just didn't. Like, this is the problem with having TLC as a pay-per-view. If you do random ladder matches and sort of, like, Edge and Christian, Jeff and Matt got famous from that 1999 ladder match. They were nowhere. And they actually just randomly gave them tag team matches for some reason. I'm still not sure why. And then they had this ladder match, which was incredible, and that was them on the mat. And I just never thought they gave Morrison that opportunity. They gave him a spot, but that's not a match.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Like an underdog rumble one where like he randomly got to the final two and lost.
Well, this is the problem with
people
doing that incredible save. They then don't carry on. Like the Kofi thing really annoyed me because every time he did a save, he would get eliminated within 5 minutes.
Yeah, genuinely, this isn't me trying to actually come across smart now, but even before Kofi won the title, because I think there's a lot of people who, in an ideal world, wanted Kofi to win. That's why Kofi Mania happened.
Yeah.
I really wanted some random rumble Kofi to actually go and win the thing.
Yeah.
And imagine if he does one of those miraculous saves in the final two, Sam.
Yeah,
the drama.
Well,
amazing.
We've always complained that the final two in Rumbles are usually quite poor. So much that everyone goes, oh yeah, but do you remember Undertaker, Shawn Michaels? Like, yeah, they had a match. That's not a Rumble final two. No. I loved it too. I'm not saying that because it's different, but it was a match. But they're going, was it rumbly? And they're going, could you imagine these guys? That's why I thought Gunther and Cody's was very good because they were actually trying to eliminate each other. And that's what I look for in my final two. So they have an incredible spot. I remember more like things where they're going, oh my God, he didn't go over the top rope and then came back and won, rather than they have a great match. For me, as a gimmick, I don't think he has one personally. That's actually a high-ranking gimmick. I don't think 7 at all. Again, he's just below. You're saying he's a very good gimmick. I don't think so. He's got no personality. I think we have to strip it back. I think 7's way too high. And I thought I was being quite generous with 5 because he's gimmickless and mainly personality-less.
God, you don't like John Morrison.
I was annoyed that he was never booked and actually learned. And then when he came back and learned, he was nowhere near the same. Like
in terms of what he could do.
Yeah, exactly. When he came back to... And the fact that he got released also says a lot as well, that they didn't see any stock in him at all. And he was still on telly. Like, I think he'd been on the week prior.
He probably had,
and that was what was like, oh, okay, we've released Morrison. So I do like Morrison. This is the thing, I actually do like Morrison.
It's not coming across.
I don't like your version. Over and a draw. How well liked he was with the crowd. How much money did he make? He made no money and he got very little crowd reaction. So Sam's going to give him a 7, Sam.
Really? You don't think he got crowd reactions? You don't think he was over?
He got crowd reactions for crazy spots and then the crowd went silent. So it was like a, wow!
Well, that's every crowd in that
John
era.
Morrison is AEW.
No, do you realise how bad audiences were in 2009? To get a little snippet of a clap is like 8 out of 10 over back then. You understand how bad they were. Attitude Era would be very different, Sam. You've no idea how bad audiences
He was not over.
I'm not saying he was over. I think he was middling over so that people wanted...
So middling, give him a middling score.
No. In terms of like that kind of, he wasn't main event level, but he was just on the cusp, which I think is the 7 category. Hold on, people had no complaints about him being in the WWE Championship match with Miz and Cena.
Nope.
They're happy for him being in there. Yeah. He was actually very over. It kind of all just fizzled out in mid 2011.
That's also
I don't know whether there was the behind the scenes stuff going on.
Well, he had that problem at WrestleMania 20.
Seven,
Snooki and Trish and all that jazz. He had a massive.
So I think that could have had something to do with it.
He fizzles a lot though because he would have a storyline and then disappear. For
ages.
Not for me. I don't think he was over to the extent. I think up and down all the time. Give him a 5. Let's watch. And it's like, oh, we got to clap. Every time he made an entrance, silence.
Yeah,
even when he was a babyface.
Everyone but Cena was the same in that era. Trust me, I know.
But if
you're not Cena or Jeff or Taker or maybe Triple H, but even then Triple H sometimes, you're not getting much. I
think you are giving way too much credit for Morrison and way less credit for the fans. The idea that if they would have turned up and made no... I know they were bad fans, but you can't make it seem like they were silent every single week.
No, I'm not saying they were silent, Sam. I'm obviously exaggerating for comedic effect, but seriously, I think he was actually... In terms of, he was one of the closest to becoming a new star in there because they didn't make new stars for like 4 years.
Real
he was one of the ones that got closest. I'm not saying he deserved to. I'm just saying he was getting
I
there.
actually don't think he got close. He had one WWE Championship match, and that was it.
No, I'm saying one of the close hits. That's how bad I'm saying it is.
I like what we're saying that as he was in the ring with
The glass ceiling was apparent. The Miz was probably the one, and then Punk to an extent.
You should always end on a finish, and we're going to end on Starship Pain. Sam?
You're not going to like this. I've given it an 8. I think it's a really cool.
I've given it an 8.
Have you? Okay, I thought I thought this would be one where you think, oh, it looks a bit soft. I think it's really cool.
Oh, that's actually why it's not 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
It's one of the softest landings,
Yeah.
and it looks brilliant, but also can look awful at the same time.
Yeah, you got to get it right.
Because I always feel like it's not the person on the floor's fault. He overshoots it so
often.
often.
It must be very hard.
It must be really hard because he's doing so much, but it is really cool. I wish he'd rather landed it on his chest.
Yeah, I get that. It's always kind of like a forearm on the side, isn't it?
And it just looks weak. And you compare it to like RVD's frog splash. You go, one's doing something unbelievably talented. One's doing a frog splash, which, don't get me wrong, is really talented because the way he does it is so much better than every frog splash. But I care more for RVD's frog splash than
I know which one I'd rather take.
Oh, I know it. One hurts more.
Yeah,
same for the swanton.
Yeah,
Jeff just landed on you now. My back hurts. You are getting
pretty much. You are my cushion.
Yeah, but for me, it's a cool move.
It is.
It's the epitome of Morrison. It's all flash, no substance.
Always very protected as well.
Always protected. Yeah, relatively protected, yeah. But it is the example of why I struggle with Morrison generally, is he is all flash, no substance. Every time you go, yes, what can you give me? Nothing else. And that was why I actually really supported Morrison, and then I just stopped caring. And then when he came back, I went, oh, it's Morrison. And then literally, do you remember what happened?
What?
Do you remember this 2020?
The return,
so
it was backstage segment.
Backstage going, and you're like, oh, Miz is ill, hi. And then what was his first match? The Royal Rumble.
He got absolutely destroyed by Brock.
Jobbed out in
I was feeling that. Could you have not
seconds.
put him and in the little space after Brock?
Well, it's because he could do a cool elimination.
I know, which was cool, but I was like, this is his return match, and yeah.
Can I just say, from looking at him from 2020 to looking at him now, it's like 5 years is a long time, lads. 5 years is a long time. We go to the overall score. Sam, what was your overinflated John Morrison score?
I gave him 72.
That is not correct.
You know, sometimes you feel like you're in a good mood when you do rankings. Yeah.
Well, no, yours is terrible. Alicia Fox still is reeling.
Yeah, Alicia Fox, sorry, I had a bad day. Sorry.
I've given John Morrison a 61, which might be a little bit low in retrospect, but at the same time, yeah, we might come together with the correct score.
Yes.
Which gives him an overall score of 133, which first of all puts him in 6th place on our mid-card leaderboard, just above Wade Barrett, which you've said off camera to me. I prefer Wade Barrett.
I do prefer Wade Barrett.
So either that means you've underdone Wade Barrett, overdone John Morrison, or John Morrison you believe is an overall better talent.
But ask me in 3 weeks, I might prefer Morrison, you know. I don't know.
But on the overalls, all of the men, because we linked them all together, he has got the same score as the Big Show, Sam.
Which is a weird comparison, isn't it?
So we have to decide who goes into the 9th position and who goes into the 10th position on the overall, because Big Show's a main eventer, that's why he wasn't on the mid-card. Sam, where do you think? Because I personally, if I had to pick the two between the two of them, I have to pick, I think, the Big Show.
I never instinctually want to pick the Big Show for anything, but I'd feel as though, on balance, I would prefer the Big Show. I don't know what my criteria is here.
Yeah, I mean, could you compare them? They're not comparable, but I think in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to pick between two, if you were building a promotion or you were building a thing, you'd probably go with the Big Show. So we're going to put Big Show into 9th place, which means John Morrison on the overall leaderboard will go into 10th place. He just hangs into the left-hand side of the overall leaderboard. Oh, there. Again, just above Wadey of Barrett. But thank you very much for joining us. What do you think of John Morrison, Johnny Impact, Johnny Elite, Johnny Sam's on Wrestling? What do you think of John Morrison? Please put it in the comments below. Go and watch our Miz and Morrison tag team one. It came out around December, which is probably why no one saw it, because, Christmas. Yeah. But go and watch it. We had a good fun with that one. We, shoved belly off because of the, the abs.
Oh, we did, yes.
Ripped, because ripped.
No, of course.
Absolutely ripped. Because I am clearly the Morrison here.
Clearly.
Of the two.
Oh, so you mean I'm going to be more successful?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I'm fully expecting. The one who has all the talent, the one who puts all the work in, and the one who can vaguely do some chatting.
Yeah, pretty much.
Going to be in crap movies.
Fine by me.
Please put it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Go check us out on TikTok, Instagram, all those. We're not on Instagram. Maybe at this point we're on Instagram.
Yes, maybe. Now you have to create
Other content keep telling me to go on Instagram, and I
go.
cannot be bothered because you do no social media work.
No. I would love to give you an argument, Sam.
I'm so tired.
I don't.
Oh my god, I am Morrison and you are this. I'm so tired. See us
Stop
next
us
time.
rallying.
No!